In this video, I'm going to take you on a trip to Georges Island, Nova Scotia. I really hope you saw my last video about my trip to Sable Island, and I did make a video about my attempt to visit Spencer's Island in Nova Scotia, but my friend Sylvia and I got stuck in a fog bank and never made it. I think you've probably noticed that I'm really interested in islands right now. And that is not a coincidence. I am working on a project where I explore islands around Nova Scotia and make paintings while I'm there. I'm really hoping that this project will fuel some more books and work that I want to make in the future. And at this stage, I really just follow my curiosity and visit places that I'm interested in. And Georges Island is a place that I see every day. I see this island when I drive my kids to school. I see the island when I drive over the bridge to Halifax. And I have lived here for almost 18 years and I have never set foot on it, and it seems so close that I could just reach out and touch it. As an artist, an island has come to represent a symbol of hope and curiosity. And I think that's because when I was born, I lived on an island with my family. My grandmother had this beautiful cottage on a place called Little Neck, which is just off the coast of Ipswich, Massachusetts. And when my parents first got married, that's where they lived. And I stayed there until about the age of 6, at which point we moved to New Hampshire and moved into a place that was near the woods. I'm an artist who loves nature, and I don't think it's a coincidence because I was surrounded by nature from a really young age, living at the beach and then living in the woods. But for me, that island is truly my happy place. So islands, in this curious way, always represent this new happiness that's just out of reach, and I have to go on a journey to see them all and see what they hold. I'm really curious to see if these smaller islands that are not wild but are near inhabited places, do they hold the same type of inspiration for my art? Or am I just on a fruitless quest to visit as many islands as I can? Georges Island isn't always open to the public. There's only a couple days of the year that you could actually go there. But this past summer, a local tour company offered a ferry over to Georges Island on the weekends. It was only a 10-minute ride from the cable wharf over to Georges Island. There's a long dock where the boat pulls up to, and after that there's trails all over the island with lots of signage. There's restrooms, and there's a tour inside of the fort. So the first thing I did was walk up to Fort Charlotte. And when you go in, there's some folks dressed in different uniforms, and they're there to give you information about Fort Charlotte and where it was built, why it was built, and when, and a little bit of the history of it. And if you wanted to, you can take a tour right down through all of the tunnels. I got thoroughly creeped out the first room that I went in. There are 100% ghosts here, I can feel it. So I decided to skip the tour. because I was really there to do some art exploration and I really wanted to get to painting. I was at first curious about the lighthouse, so I headed over there, but the trails that they have end on the top of Fort Charlotte, and you were not actually allowed to go down this embankment or walk along the coastline, which I didn't know, so that was a little disappointing for me because I was really hoping to get down near the lighthouse. The next stop I made was this house, and looking back, I can see why I was attracted to it, because if you know my artwork, I love to draw quaint little houses that are up on a cliff by the sea, or cottagey little places on cliffs, or, you know, at the bottom of a hill. And I feel like this house was calling me because it kind of fits that vibe that I like to paint. So I sat here, conveniently there was a chair, and I sat here and drew this house. And it was around this time that I did find a little quiet, and an unsettling thing happened, which was I saw the biggest snake slither by. It was just enormous. It was just a garter snake, but it was so big. And then I noticed that the hill on Fort Charlotte is just covered with holes and little trails coming out of the holes. And that's when I realized that there are just thousands of snakes on George's Island. And I remember someone had told me this before, but it never really clicked in until this moment. And then that thoroughly gave me the creeps. I'm cool with snakes. I don't know if I'm cool with hundreds of snakes. So I made my way back down to the dock. After about 4 hours on the island, I decided I had seen the entire thing and I was ready to go home. So I hopped the ferry back to the cable wharf and then took the other ferry back to Dartmouth and made my way back home. As for my questions, which I asked at the beginning of this video, which were these more inhabited islands with traces of human influence as interesting to me as the wild islands? The answer is yes. I think what I like about islands is each one is like a package, and it still feels like a surprise to open that package and see what is contained inside of that island's treasures, if you will. And for me, it was really that kind of romantic feeling about the lighthouse in the harbor and the little house by the sea. And I decided to make a painting about some of those things. Thank you so much for watching today. If you could please like and subscribe, that would help me make more of these videos and share more stories about my art.